My podcast studio ranks #1 on Google, but it turns out I was just one competitor away from losing that top spot. Let me explain. The name of my place is Upstate Podcast Studio. You can find it at upstatepodcaststudio.com. I am in the Hudson Valley, north of New York City. So when I wanted to start the facility up, I said, where am I? Upstate. What is it? A podcast studio. Okay, I just jammed those two together, and that was the name of the studio. It turns out, though, it does really well completely organically on Google search. Now, I'm no SEO expert, but I get the basic mechanics of how it works. On traditional SEO, Google ranks your pages by crawling them, pulling the text, pulling the descriptions, all that stuff. And I know even less about GEO and AI search, GEO being generative engine optimization. So ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, their overviews pull directly from structured, credible, machine-readable sites. So it all kind of is the same thing. The more I've dug into this, the more I realize that this is a gap that most small businesses aren't taking advantage of. So here's the thing. This relies on a Claude skill that I got externally from another source. I got it from The Uncommon Business. They're doing really great work. And I was part of a webinar that they ran for a few days, and this was a freebie. So I figured I'd give it a shot. And it revealed a lot of really interesting stuff. So let me just pull up the chat. So as you can see at the top here, I basically gave a very basic prompt. I said, I want to run a full SEO GEO audit of my podcast studio, Upstate Podcast Studio. If you need any clarity or have questions, ask me one question at a time using Ask User Questions. And then I invoked the SEO GEO ranking audit skill. We won't talk a ton about Ask User Question right now, but it's a way to force Claude to ask you questions in a multiple choice format, which is pretty great. So it asked me for the URL for the studio. I gave it to them here, and then it went and did its thing. And you can see there is a wealth of information here, right? I'm not going to spend a ton of time going through every little thing, but it's building tables, listing issues or opportunities, ranking them in priority, why it matters, how do we fix it, priority roadmap. Here are the top priorities to fix within the first couple of weeks, within 1 to 3 months, and within the next half a year to a year. And then it also pulls up a content expansion plan. It pulls up competitors, who I'm competing against, and then gives me a GEO upgrade plan, the schema that I would put onto my site. Essentially, I'm hosting everything on Squarespace. That might change in the future, but right now it's taking my site built on Squarespace and saying, hey, here's how you can optimize for SEO and GEO. Gave me a final verdict. Can the site realistically grow its ranking? Yes, with an important caveat. The current #1 ranking for Podcast Studio Upstate New York is real but fragile. And that line scared me because I get all my business for this studio just by being the top dog in Google search. So I needed to shore this up. It's held by a combination of an exact brand name match, a strong H1, which again, I don't know what H1 means. I'm just relying on Claude here, and a near total absence of local competition. And that is true. The city that I am in, there are no other dedicated podcast studios around, probably within a 30-minute drive. So I'm fully set up with multi-camera capture. I can do 3 cameras. I can do video and audio. I'm pre-lit. Like, I am a one-stop shop, and I want to keep my advantage against all these other competitors. So I asked, what can I do to shore this up as quickly as possible? And I started getting these code injections on Squarespace, depending on the plan that you have. And it'll give you something that won't appear on the screen when you visit the site, but it gives these search engines and these LLMs the ability to see this data. So I just went through and I kind of had a back and forth with Claude. It gave me some code. There were some limitations in the plan I was paying for, so I had to have it kind of rework some angles. But this is incredibly thorough. It was asking me more questions as we went. This is for the FAQ block. How many people can you record per session? I gave it the sound treated studio can accommodate up to 4 talent per session, so on and so forth. You can pause the screen. You can look at this. But the nice part is I don't know anything about coding. And if you've spent any time in the AI space, it's like that's the whole point, is you don't need to know. You just need to essentially be able to have a conversation to get to the end result you want. And this went on for a while. I even asked it for SEO descriptions behind the scenes on Squarespace. You can put in SEO descriptions that make it a little bit easier to search. And so the cool thing was now Squarespace has a built-in SEO score. When I started, it was even lower than 57%. But this is after the first round where we got with just a few minor tweaks. I went through, had Claude help me draft up an about section for the website. These are some more SEO tags to put in. And again, just went on a big, long conversation with Claude. I even have some pictures on the site that I uploaded to Claude, and then it helped give me SEO descriptions for these images. So anyway, we keep going. Now the fun begins. So if I go to something like Gemini and I say, I'm looking for a video and audio podcast studio in upstate New York, ideally in the Hudson Valley area. We put that into Gemini. It now comes up number one in Gemini. I don't have ChatGPT currently. I did a search in Perplexity earlier. I'm looking for high quality podcast studios in upstate New York. So not just my little tiny geographic area north of the city, but all of upstate New York, where if you know New York State, it is a big place. And even against all of upstate New York, it still comes up number one. And it kind of quantifies it. So here are some strong upstate New York podcast studio options with the best fit depending on how far north you mean and whether you want full service production or just a rental space. So it hits the Hudson Valley and Kingston first. What's funny is this Uptown Kingston podcast studio and content space that is a peer space listing, it's still my space. So I'm number 1 and 2 in Perplexity. And then it goes to other regions in the state, which I'm not super concerned with at this stage. And I know for a fact in Claude, well, let's see. If I go back to Claude, we'll just do a new chat. I am looking for high quality podcast studios in upstate New York or the Hudson Valley. Let's just run this on Claude outside of a project. Well, it's a little bit loaded because I have most of my knowledge built into Claude at this point. So it does say right off the bat, worth flagging up front, your studio shows up prominently in these results, which is a good sign for organic search. Here's what else is out there. So podcast production specific, this comes up in the region as number 1. So this is amazing. This is all well and good. LLMs are becoming, I guess more ubiquitous for basic search questions. I don't use them like that as much. I get a little bit deeper, but a lot of people are doing searches like they used to do on Google in ChatGPT or Claude. And so this bodes really well. Now, if I just come here and I go podcast studio Hudson Valley, let's do it so that it's not terminology that's built into the name of the studio. Here's what's interesting. I can see that based on naming convention, HV podcasting, which is Hudson Valley podcasting, does rank 1 spot higher, but I'm first in the places audit at the top, and the studio is number 2. And this was a lot lower a couple weeks ago. So this has had a chance to go filter through all the changes I made on the back end of Squarespace, have filtered through. The ranking has raised quite a bit, and we're in a really good spot. So the point is this. In the past, I have hired people and paid people $1,000 to $2,000 to go through and do SEO audits of sites in the past, give me ways that I can brush up on my ranking, SEO descriptions, all that stuff. I've paid people real money to do that for me, and the time horizon is a lot longer. With something like this in Claude, I can just go in, run a skill, and say, this is the business I want to audit against all of the competition. How is it ranking? How is it performing? And then once I get that report back, I can make very quick decisions. How do I improve this? How do I improve my standing? Now, if I go into Squarespace and I go to SEO AI/AI visibility, I'm at 100% completion. All of their markers and their kind of guidelines that they want completed are in there. And I'm at a search visibility score of 98%. So all this is great. Obviously, it's a big improvement from where I was at in the past. And I think this is something that more people need to be taking advantage of. I'm no expert, but I'm good at figuring out what I need based on the results that I get back. So being able to do this SEO GEO audit in almost real time and basically do a month's worth of work in an afternoon has been an absolute game changer. And there's more work I can do, certainly. There's more I can do to shore up the ranking and improve the discoverability for the studio 100%. But the funny thing is, I'm still not doing any proper marketing. I've just improved how it shows up online and decreased my competition factor. And the fact that now I can go in and ask Claude or Perplexity or ChatGPT or Gemini, I need a podcast studio in upstate New York, and my facility comes up first. That is incredible and something that's only going to help enhance the business going forward. So I hope you found all this helpful. This is just a really quick primer on just some of the things that you can do as a solo operator or small business owner to kind of like help enhance your discoverability. You don't have to be in media or production like I am. The point is a little more universal. You can use Claude or any other AI tool to kind of poke holes in your business and see where you're doing well, see where you can improve, and see what your competition is doing. I make a lot of content around creative entrepreneurship and building in public. I write a Substack called No Set Path, which is also the name of my podcast. I'll put links to all of that in the description below. And keep coming back for more. I want to do more of these, and I hope you got something out of it.